I'm Brent Davey. I'm 41. I'm based out of Austin, and this is Financial Audit.
So what do you do, 41-year-old Austin, Texas, for a living?
Too many things.
Okay, go on.
I don't even know, really. I'm just like hustling every day, basically, because I have been blacklisted for most jobs.
Whoa.
I have a criminal background.
What did you do?
I told Governor Abbott on Twitter that I would eat his heart. And,
Holy crap.
That solicited a big reaction.
So what happened?
I was arrested. I was arrested by 6 DPS agents. They knocked on my door, and I spent 4 days in jail on a terror hold.
This is not to shame or anything like that, but how do you feel personally that parents in their retirement age are taking care of you in your very into career age?
Grateful.
Grateful.
Yeah.
Do you feel any embarrassment, any shame around it?
A little bit, but I know that they're capable of it. I like to make money.
Do you feel it enables you at all? Because your rent is taken care of.
Yeah.
You don't have that extra fire under your butt to go out and get that monies.
Yeah.
Even if it's a job you're not willing to get.
Maybe. I mean, even I would take any job. I've applied for every job in the city.
Okay, so that was a question I was going to get into. We may as well talk about it now.
Yeah.
What do you mean every job in the city? You mean like a McDonald's cashier?
Yes.
And they'll say no.
One Whataburger wanted to hire me, and then I don't know if I could do that. That's.
What do you mean? If you're trying to survive, you can. We're just trying to survive.
It wouldn't actually
I want
help
you to
me.
be in a better position, but if your option right now is nothing or something, I pick something, even if that something's not absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So you said no.
I, at the time, was also interviewing for another job as a communication director at Texas PTA.
That would have been great.
I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I can accept this job while I'm interviewing for that job.
Whataburger, you could have come back and said, okay, situation has changed. I want it. They're always hiring.
That's true.
Okay, so every job, no, you haven't actually been applying to every job, have you? You've been applying to jobs that you more want to do, correct?
Well, jobs that I'm qualified for.
Okay, but not jobs that feel like are a step down.
Well, yeah, because I feel like I want to accomplish things.
Okay, so you're picking and choosing, to be very clear. You're not just applying for every job. There are jobs that you probably could have gotten. Well, I guarantee you there's people working McDonald's or retail or a server or something that have misdemeanors or worse.
I applied for half price books, and I'm a writer. I'm a writerly guy.
Okay,
right?
So one, and it's a bookstore.
Yeah.
They're probably not hiring as much, but one.
Well, they were, and I even followed up with them. I went there, and they were like, "Oh, you're overqualified." They're afraid I'm going to leave.
No, I know, but that's one place.
Yeah,
that's one place. That's what I want to make clear: is you are very much picking and choosing. I want you to have the job of the dreams, the career.
Picking and choosing. I feel like the world is picking and choosing for me.
So I like that Caleb is really kind of poking him at this, because feels like accountability is a really difficult thing for this particular guy. And you can't just, say things online or threaten people's, he's in this position because of choices and things that he made. But at this point, you can't just, you're responsible at 41 years old to be making a living on your own and not relying on your parents, like Caleb said, in the retirement age or getting to it, for them to take care of your rent and any number of other things. Come on. You may not want to work at Whataburger, but if you need to make rent, if you need to pay for your own bills and stuff, and be a damn adult at 41 years old, past the time.
Yeah, but okay. Well, let's look at your checking account. You started with $67. Terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
That's almost every month.
That's scary. Yeah. You ended with 800. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
A little bit more.
But you start almost every month with $67 because you're not willing to accept going and getting a job that will accept you, specifically, to be clear.
Well,
you're refusing.
I can only take that much rejection.
No, no.
One man can only take that much.
Okay. No, you're being a baby when it comes to that.
I don't think so. I'm not a baby.
No, but
I'll walk out of this interview if you call me a baby.
No, when it comes to that, specifically, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, brother, we have an ego problem. I get that nobody likes being called names, but at the same time, like this is like 8-year-old behavior where they like don't want to do their chores to get a reward or like something.
I'm not a baby. No, I actually like all my life I've actually had to fight my way into things.
But you said you're not willing to accept that much rejection, so you're not willing to just go out and work your butt off to get that job.
I already have. I've kicked so much. I've fired Congress people, like I've kicked.
No, I think you might be.
I think that's what people are afraid of, is that if I go into a job, they're afraid I'm going to be their boss right off the bat, because I might be, just because it's my attitude and I'm smart and I can boss people. I have a degree in information systems. I've been a journalist. I've been a policy analyst. I've owned an advertising agency. I've built apps.
Well, why will you not accept?
I've done a lot.
Why will you not accept the jobs that you feel are slightly beneath you?
Because something better is going to come along, and I just know it.
Why? This is where I'm just trying to get to this mindset. See if we're able to agree on this. If you're not willing to accept the jobs that you feel are slightly beneath you to bring in money, and you're relying on your parents, you do not consider that immature, borderline baby behavior.
No, I don't. I will accept the jobs beneath my what I'm expecting, but like that's a big step down. Like fast food, that's a huge step down.
No, it
and
is.
I don't even know if I could do it. I'm a terrible cook.
But right now you're relying on your You're relying on your parents, though.
I'm not even good at it.
Wouldn't you say that's beneath?
I want to do something I'm good at. Isn't that just natural?
Yes, it is. But there's also a responsibility of being an adult. Yes.
Well, if I screw up a burger, then who's responsible for that? I don't know. I'm not that good at it.
I'm sure you and the teenager.
What I'm really wondering is, based on that reaction, I feel like there is a severe amount of anxiety, and I'm almost wondering what his relationship is like with his parents. And yeah, maybe he feels justified in some way in having them pay for this because of something that happened long ago, but he's 41. It's well past time to be, growing up and putting your big boy pants on and handling stuff. Because like I've had to, at different points in my life, even in my early 30s, go donate plasma because we needed groceries. And you do the things that you don't really want to do to make them work, especially when you have a family. It doesn't sound like this guy has one, but you don't. Well, I mean, most people don't just behave that way for shits.
Just there.
I think they would go with
maybe
that.
not. What about Uber Eats?
I haven't tried that one.
The last mile Amazon delivery.
The thing I'm worried about with these models is that I think I don't think it actually makes money. I think the depreciation is actually negative. That's like, I think it comes.
Okay, he's got a point here, but when you need to feed yourself, you can take that depreciation for food. Cars depreciate naturally, whether they're sitting on the driveway or whether you're actually driving them. Now, granted, you've got gas and you're going to, oil, even synthetics have like a shelf life where you don't let them sit in the car for more than several months or whatever. Whew, we can find excuses everywhere.
Comes out negative.
Well, there's things and then there's facts. In a lot of towns, you are correct. In small towns, in Austin,
I did Lyft in Chicago and it was negative.
Well, 1 second. In Austin, I know Uber Eats drivers who I've personally met and talked to were raking in like $80,000 a year, and that is not the amount of depreciation in gas they are taking in their cars
and repairs and insurance.
And repairs,
you have to pay more in insurance when you do that too. It's crazy. It becomes a whole thing.
It becomes a whole thing. $80,000 is also a thing.
I'm wondering if he just doesn't if he doesn't have an appreciation for math. Like he gets scared with the idea of something without understanding, yes, that happens, but you're getting 5 times that depreciation in cash flow. Like, yeah, you have to go through a few different things to make this work. Like, yeah, you're going to have to go to the gas station more often. Yeah, you might have to go to Jiffy Lube or somewhere and get an oil change every couple of months instead of once every 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever months, because most of it depends on how many miles you drive. But if you're making $6,000 or $7,000 a month instead of 0 or, $700 or whatever it's coming out to, come on, dude.
Instead of relying on someone else.
That's true. I could probably pull that off.
Okay.
Uber Eats, I could probably pull that off.
We're getting somewhere.
I could probably do that.
Yeah, you could do that because a lot of people do it. Yeah. There's no reason you wouldn't be able to.
If it works.
And then there's Amazon Last Mile.
I haven't tried it, but the last time I tried Lyft, it did not work.
I don't know the exact position it's called, but there's Amazon Last Mile delivery where you can go. A lot of people you sit in a line at a warehouse in your car, and then they go through. They give you packages in a zone, and you just go take it out. You can put them in your trunks. I don't remember exactly what it's called. I know it's a thing,
but I can't put it. My car's really small. I don't think that would work.
You might be able to get something though. I think you're paid per package. Isn't it worth looking into at least?
I can already see it as a dead end because it's just my trunk is tiny.
You give up very easily.
Well, I like to make sure things that I get into work.
Why not see if it works?
Because I don't like to waste time.
You need to feed yourself. And you're wasting time arguing about wasting time instead of actually having the conversation, because you don't know until you have the conversation. This is like your kids when they've never had a food before and they're like, I don't know if I'll like it. And it's like Twizzlers or something that's full of sugar. Kids love sugar. They're going to like it, but they have anxiety around trying something that's new. This guy has some kind of severe anxiety about asking questions to actually get down to it and just gives up after he assumes that it might be too hard. And that's just
good.
I'm moving in 2 months, so I don't.
Where are you going?
Dallas, Fort Worth.
Okay.
I've got more connections there. Just
what are the connection types?
Rent's way cheaper there.
Yeah.
You can get a much better spot.
You don't even pay your own rent, but yeah.
Well, yeah.
What are the connections you have there?
One of my former clients is the mayor of Arlington. I spent a lot of years there. And that was
that's
the first
not
place
people,
I moved after
that's
college.
One connection.
It's it kind of feels like going back to roots, I guess.
Okay. You have a place lined up?
I'm looking.
What is that lotto.com?
Yeah, lotto.com, lottery. I'm going to hit it big and make millions.
So you gamble a lot.
I spent $30, something like that. So it's donations to the Texas education system.
You're donating your parents' rent money to the lottery/education system is what's happening, because you're not making enough money to pay your own bills, and you justify that by playing the lottery because it goes to the education system and you might hit it big. So your parents are giving you money to play the lottery.
Because I won about...
I doubt that's gas.
That's usually taquitos. They're so cheap.
They're so cheap you don't have money.
Well, you have to eat something.
Oh, don't pull that with me. I've had this crap.
A taquito.
You don't need 7-Eleven taquitos to be your daily caloric intake. You can get something cheap from the grocery store.
You can, but it's actually kind of cheaper.
It is not cheaper for the amount of crap that you get at a taquito for $6.
If you're just one person living alone.
No, it is not. You get meal prep. My goodness, it is not. It is
kind of is.
It is a.
Have you seen the price of eggs?
It kind of is. What is it
Have
kind
you seen
of
the
is?
price of eggs and bacon?
You don't go buy eggs
You could buy like 24 eggs for the same price as whatever taquitos you're buying right now.
Eggs. You refused to get a job that will accept you, like the Whataburger job that did accept you, and then you decided not to do it.
Well, I
because
had
you're
a reason. I mean, in my head, I had
But
a
you could have gone
reason.
back and got it. They're
I don't
always
know.
hiring.
Yeah, maybe.
Dude, there are people with felonies working in fast food.
Uh-huh.
I promise you could do it with a misdemeanor B.
Yeah.
They're desperate to hire right now. If any industry is desperate to hire, it is service.
And how long do you think I'm gonna last there?
What does that mean? In
Like-
terms of get fired or you existing?
Yeah, until I like raise an issue. And
Does it matter when you need to feed yourself? Then you find another one.
then.
Well,
and
if you
then,
decide to be a big boy and take care of
yeah.
yourself,
Well,
you'll.
yeah, it hurts. It's like I just get these checks, and I'm like, man,
We all
money.
get them. We all get them.
yeah.
Does
Everyone get those?
Yeah, dude, they're like spam. Don't you get them?
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone gets them.
Wow. Yeah. I just deposited them. I was like, because I'm not making anything. So
Oh, that doesn't mean we
Crazy.
borrow at 100%.
yeah, that's crazy.
I'd almost rather.
It's
100% APR is like 10% a month. 8% a month. 8% of. I have no words.
not good. It's not good.
Does your car have debt on it, or is it paid
It's
for?
got about 9,000 on it.
That's debt. Okay, 9,000 at what interest rate?
It's not bad. It's like 14.
14%
sorry.
isn't bad.
I had to chuckle at the not bad part of that. That's
Oh.
terrible.
Yeah. Well,
That's
yeah.
vomit. Credit cards?
One Capital One.
How much is on it?
About 700. Not too bad.
I guess in the grand scheme.
Yeah,
probably
but it's like 30%
20 to
APR
30%.
too.
I think so. I think it's about like 18%. Yeah.
I don't think they give
any
a
other
card under
debt? Because
20.
those are debts. Do you have student loans?
Yeah.
Texas Tech?
No student loan.
Okay.
When I went to Texas Tech, it was $4,000 a semester.
Oh, that must be
Yeah,
nice.
I know. It was beautiful. And I was actually like making as a student programmer in application development while running the satire newspaper. At the same time, I was making the equivalent, inflation adjusted, about $35 an hour as a student. And I was coding I was in application development on the persistent session login system. We were doing, it's like Facebook Connect or Microsoft Connect, where you can go between different sites in the university's website systems and have the same login. It was really wonderful stuff. We were basically copying like the big players,
I want to
But it was
get
great.
you, as someone who wants to root for you and cheer for you,
Yeah.
I want to get you to the point where you are excited and celebrating the future instead of just always the past and what has been accomplished. I want us to be like, yeah, things are about to just go, woo!
Go gangbusters. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I'm usually like that. I try to approach every day like that. Like I try to have that kind
You
of
seem like a
energy.
happy dude. You walked in here happy. Hopefully you walk.
Right now, he seems really sad. Like he's reminiscing about the past and what he's done in the past and why that is so important. And yes, accomplishments are good, but you're in a situation right now that's really, really bleak. And we're not doing a whole heck of a lot to try to get ourselves out of it. Like you are fully capable of doing something really great, but most of the time you're choosing not to. Like, if you're not going to make money at anything, at least code, do something freelance and try to sell it or something. Like,
God.
I feel like I do pretty all right. Like I engage. I used to sell.
I feel like this guy argues with the interviewers. I feel like that's more often than not what happens. Like he finds some way to try to prove his superiority or his intellect and gets in arguments with the interviewers.
I used to sell projects to really important people. So I go into interviews and I look at it like I'm developing a client, kind of like okay, what do you need? And how can I deliver?
Do you do the me thing that a lot of people do? Like, I'm so good at this. I'm so good at this. Oh, my degree.
No, I ask more questions and I try to figure out
Okay.
who had this role before me. Is this a new role? What are you trying to accomplish strategically?
Okay.
And and then I try to give hints of how I might help.
Good.
You know, that's
Good.
kind of, that's how I used to sell business, you know, in the advertising world. Yeah.
We're in
You know
an
what I
interesting
mean?
job market right now, though.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's weird.
Different. I mean, job markets are always changing, so I would just be aware of that as well. I wouldn't necessarily take it as personally.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I would do. Do Uber Eats 80 hours a week.
I think that's actually a
Whataburger,
good
something like
idea.
that. Just work anytime you're not sleeping, and that's it. I would cut back. I would not gamble once. I would cancel all the OnlyFans subscriptions, and I would cancel all subscriptions. And that's not internet, essentially. I would not go to any more bars. I would not eat unless, like, you have a significant other or a date that pays for it, or you're just having free stuff at the park on walks and stuff like that. No more spending money on fun until the 100% interest rate is gone. 100%.
Open mics don't feel like just fun. I feel like I'm working towards something.
Yeah, don't pay though. Just don't pay.
Yeah.
You have to pay to be a part of them?
Not usually.
Okay,
I mean,
don't buy a drink. Don't buy nachos.
I just get like a Lone Star.
No. Get a water. Get a water. All your money, well, you're in the fortunate situation of your parents taking care of your rent. Every single cent that is not going to pay them.
It's hard, and what he's talking about right now is you recreating the pattern of not splurging, because the first time you justify anything like a diet, for instance, when you justify eating the brownie or the cookie or the whatever at the party or any number of other things, it makes it so much easier to cascade back into the line of behavior that got you into the problem in the first place. And in this particular case, a majority of the problem is him not taking responsibility, him lashing out. And I mean, I don't know if he's specifically actually blacklisted from anything or if that's just an excuse to not be working or whatever. It doesn't really matter at this point. But in general, accountability for, you know, your actions, your words, stuff along those lines. You can't just go telling people that you're going to eat their heart. Like, I don't know why that was anything. But being able to hold a job or make steady income is the primary goal, like Caleb is saying. And then the other part is creating the habits where you're not making excuses for why the negative behaviors that led you to that position are okay. That's the human interaction here that we're dealing with. It's not specifically the drink that he's talking about or a taquito. It's the pattern that has to be broken. And typically speaking, for most people, the pattern is harder to break when you are dabbling in it here and there. It's cold turkey, just like with quitting smoking or something along those lines, where you cut it off for a specific period of time, like you commit to it and then you stick to it. Like 30 days of no eating taquitos or no drinking alcohol or no smoking cigarettes or like whatever gets you through that period of time where the pattern has been broken, hopefully for long enough that you can continue that. And then if you're self-aware enough to understand what leads you to do that and how it becomes a habit, staying away from those things and, you know, kind of moving forward with that. But like, I think the emphasis on not drinking or not doing the other things that he's doing that are sort of habitual, whether it's the OnlyFans or drinking at the bar or the taquitos, they're part of the pattern of behavior that needs to be corrected. Those things aren't necessarily in and of themselves negative or bad or unhealthy. I mean, granted, taquitos are certainly far from the healthiest thing he could be eating, but we got to break the cycle. We got to get him out of that mindset. And I can guarantee you, based on his body language and how he's communicating things, he seems like a very depressed human being. He's fighting to try to mask it, but I feel like there's a huge layer of depression in there somewhere, and whether it comes from the interaction with, you know, Abbott or his parents or whatever, somewhere, I don't think that's been dealt with. I think that in order for him to really kind of get through this, one, he's going to have health insurance or some, you know, communication with people who can hold him accountable and like a therapist to work through some of those issues, because if I had to guess, that would be where the root of all of those things are.